4.4 new features and functionalities. So first of all, there is a new hover panel on top of 3D window, which you see here on the right bottom hand corner. And that is basically like a bigger easy access buttons and which you can fully customize based on your needs. What are your favorite buttons you can put there, and based on different processes as well, you can modify it. So in Delfoi Arc, you might have different buttons, and then for Delfoi Paint, you can have different set of buttons over there. And these first few functionalities we will show you also live in a couple of minutes. So the next new feature is statement group. So basically that is a new folder structure here on the program panel where you can group anything basically. So you can put points, linear motion, point-to-point motion, but you can put there welds and other similar statements. So you can group them, and then with this group you can clone, mirror, and you can define origins for the whole group in a totally new way. And why this is handy is when you before in the previous releases you have maybe used feature templates, and there we follow where the part is moving, and the feature templates are moving together with part coordinates. But in case if your workpiece is just one single part with one single origin, then this new statement group and its ability to have its own origin is helping you quite a bit. And then related to that, you can have also group templates, which enables you to export these statement groups and then reuse them later in different areas of the assembly file or in the new assembly part later. And then we have this scope visibility as a new feature also over there, so that with that function you can only see what is inside of one folder, for example. And now my colleague Severi will show you on live what all these previous slides mean.
So first up, we're going to take a look at the hover panel. So you can now see on the bottom of my screen the hover panel. By default, it has a little bit opacity, so it's kind of see-through, but when you move your cursor on top of it, you will see that these buttons will then highlight. This bar here can be activated under File, Options, Robotics, and Hover Panel. So you can toggle the visibility on and off. If you don't want to use it, you want to go the old-fashioned way, or if you want to turn it off if it's not for some reason. Now we have the tools over here that are basically general for Delfoi Arc. So when we click on this, we can start the Create a Path tool and start creating welds in our layout. So here you can see these are the exact same tools that previously were in the program editor here right under the subprograms, but now just the most used tools that we want to use for creating our Arc programs. So here we have Create a Path, Create a Search, Create a Via Path, Multipass, Auto Search, Clone, and Switch Robots. When we click with our mouse right button, we will open up a customization menu. So here we can change the position of this toolbar with the button over here. So now you can see that the buttons appeared here in the left upper hand part of the screen. So the position of this part is changeable. You can also set actions, what you want to set for each part. So you can switch the tools that you are going to use over here. You can switch the icons that are over here, or you can change even the presets. So we have pre-made presets for every application that we currently have. So we can switch between cut application that you can see that it adds the drill path over here. We have spot welding tools that will then open up a spot gun tool over here. Then we also have surface tools painting tools, and T-scan tools. And all of these are modifiable, so you can add your own actions, you can add more buttons into this, and then you can also switch those tools that you want to have over there, or you can add even spacers between your tools if you want to space them in a specific manner. So in a really simple way, we will bring the tools more closer to the action right over here in the 3D world. Then last up, you can reset all the presets that you have changed, so you can bring back all the defaults and start working with the original pattern that you had in the first place. Okay, then let's take a look at the group templates. So the group templates can now be found here also in the same toolbar, statement group, and it will open up a folder view over there in our program. Now on the right-hand side, as always, we can see the detailed properties for that statement. So we can have the group name and we can name it as we want. For example, group 1. And then inside this group, we can start create our own statements that we want. For example, let's create a couple well statements over here. Now these well statements are inside this group statement. And when I switch the visibility back, we can see the subprogram currently active, and then all paths inside this group. Then what we can do with the group statements is not only for categorizing different statements inside our programs, we can also use it, as Vesa stated, as in a similar way as we use feature templates. But for example, now in this case, if we take a look at this workpiece a little bit more closely, we're going to go into modeling. We're going to check the workpiece. And here we can find that the workpiece is actually just one piece of feature inside this CAD model. So there are no distinguishable features inside this model. So feature template could not be used. So in these cases, we can use the group statement to take these wells that we have generated for this first group and use that to either move that group or copy and clone the group to another position in that workpiece. So one mouse right click allows us to set an origin to this group, which will then ask you for normal surfaces where it will place the initial location of the origin for the group. So we're going to pick wall, base, and a third surface. It will then give us information again inside our statement properties. Now we will have a use group origin active and the node where our origin is now connected. Now we can take this group, we can move the origin again to a different location if we want, or we can move the entire group and we can then control the position of these paths inside that group. So we can do it manually. We can do it with these coordinate values between world, parent, and object coordinates, or then we can use the snap tool to snap the position in a new location. We can also take the group template and we can use the copying tools to copy the position of that entire group into another position. So in the end, we will end up with two groups with the exact same statements and with identical origins with each other. Now with these groups, it's easy to manipulate the positions and locations of these wells. But what we can also do with this is we can save them into group templates. So similar way as we do with feature templates, we can also do with group templates. So we can select from template list the new group template tool, which will then list all the group templates inside this list that we have. So we can export it, set group 1, and we can now find it from this list. Here we can start to build our own group template database, which is pretty much the similar as with feature templates. And now also a new feature, we can also add descriptions and previews of our current groups if we want to have a screenshot of that specific group that we have selected, or if we want to write some description right under that. And then we can import that, select origin in the world where we want to import it, and then find the group over there. So pretty similar way as with the feature template. And in the end, we will end up with 3 groups now in our program, where we can then toggle our visibilities for each group with selected mode, all mode, only subprogram, and only the current active group with the scope statement.
Maybe one more extra detail about this statement groups, that in every post processor there is now an option that you can also download these to robot program as subroutines, not only sequences of the subprogram list, but also these group statements can be a separate subroutine file. So next, a new feature, multi-robot program views. So where to, let's say, open it is from the ribbon bar, templates and program view. Then you get this new panel where you can see 1, 2, or more robots, depending on how many robots, of course, you have in the layout. And then you can see during the simulation also that how it is synchronizing with the master and slave robots, the def statements and so on. So it's just easier to follow the simulation also, and also when creating the program itself, it's easier to follow. But you will see a live demo also about this. And then also on multi-robot area, when you have a robot as a workpiece positioner, there are new functionalities for that. So there is this pin or handling guide, how we call it, which is basically guiding the handling robot where it takes the workpiece to be welded, for example. And now there are new parameters over there on the aux tab, how you can control where the handling guide is, and you can also control it for the whole path or every single point separately. And how to define where is the default position for handling guide when creating the new path. It is in the robot settings and looks like this, but you will see that also in live demo. And then in feature templates, that is existing functionality, but there are new things what you can do over there. So as with the group statements, you can also include a description and a picture for each template, but then you have also this new family table idea. So you have manage tab inside of feature templates where you can define that, hey, this one feature or one template name is not only connected to one specific feature or specific part name, it can be used also for several parts, kind of a family of part names where you can use the same template. And then you have also a possibility to define how these template names are used for different parts. So there are different ways now to, or you have basically ability to define how the naming convention works, where to split the name. Is it underscore or point or whatever?
So let's start first with the functionalities with multi-robots. So in this case, I have here a layout with a handling robot and a welding robot. And I have created a simple weld seam over here. Now, as Vesa described earlier, so normally how we would have, if we want to see the program statements in any robot, you need to click on the robot. And then on the left-hand side, for example, this is the handling robot, and then you see the statements for the handling robot. If I click on the welding robot, then I will see the statements for the welding robot. But to make it easier so that you want to see the program statements for both the robots, you have here from templates this program view option that is added. So if I click on this program view, this is going to open the first tab for one of the robots. So in this case, if I make it a bit bigger, you can see now it shows that the handling robot is over here. And I can click on the main and I can see the parts underneath the handling robot. But let's also get the welding robot inside the program view. To do so, here are some options. So I can click on this addition option over here. And when I click on that addition option, you can see that I also have the welding robot over here. So in this one view, you can see what are the statements underneath the handling robot. So the via path underneath the handling robot and the weld statement underneath the welding robot. Also, you have here this kind of chain option. So if I click on the chain option, or let me just not click first, and you can see that right now I can also go individually to this sequence tab over here. So right now there are no program statements, but anyhow, if I click on the sequence tab, I am underneath the handling robot. And if I am on the welding robot, I can see what is inside this main group. But if I click on the chain option, and then let's go back and click on the sequence, then it will show with the same name what is also present for the welding robot. So I can see the sequence 1 for the handling robot, as well as what is underneath the sequence 1 for the welding robot. Okay, and then of course, it is easier when you run the simulation that you see what's going on in both the robots, and you can see and follow the program where it is moving ahead. Okay, let me just minimize this. And let's take a look at the handling guide. So over here in the Ops tab, we have a new option of handling guide. And as Vesa explained earlier, with this handling guide, it would be now easier for you to position the handling robot. So let's have a look at that. Let me minimize this one and let's zoom in closer. So here you have this X offset, Y offset, and Z offset. And like with every other tab, also here, you just scroll your mouse wheel and then you will see the changes happening here in the 3D window. So as you can see, this is the X offset. So the robots are moving towards and away from each other in the X direction. Similarly, you can give the Y offset and position the handling robot in the left and right direction in the Y side. And then you have the Z offset, so you can go downwards and upwards. So it's quite easy to position the handling robot with this handling guide interface that you have over here. Also, if you don't want to see the handling guide over here, the visibility can be turned off from here, like this. Then you can also set the default position for this handling guide, and that can be done using the settings tab. So in the settings tab, underneath the multi-robot, which earlier had this sync enabled option, now there is also this additional option, which is the handling guide. And over here, you can change the default position. To reset this, let's go here. And you can change the default position for the handling guide. Let's say if I want it over here, I change the position, go to the settings, and then I click on this touch up button. So as it says in the view over here, it will put a new default position for the handling guide. Okay, so that was about the multi-robot updates. And now we will go and have a look at the updates with the feature template. And I hope you can also see the different layout out here. So in this case, we have here this plate underscore 21. So this is the feature template that I have already defined for this particular plate. And what new we have got here. So let's go to the templates. And earlier we had this export template, so it stays as it is over here. So you can just export the template, save it, okay. And then when you want to import it, now you have, earlier here was import template, but now you can see here import and manage. So if I click on this import and manage, so there are two tabs over here, import and manage tab. And this is also kind of similar interface like you also saw previously for the group templates. So you can also define where are the templates stored and choose the correct folder and the template filter to filter out correct name if you have lots of templates defined in a particular folder. And as you saw previously in group template over here also, you can take a picture and let's say take a snip like this. So then it becomes quite easier for you to remember next time. So when you switch between the block and plate, for example, and when you're here on the plate, you know that, okay, this feature is assigned to this particular plate. So it's easier for you to remember. And then of course, you can also add some additional notes over here that can help you. Apart from that, you have here next is this family table. And as Vesa described earlier, so right now this feature is like restricted to just a feature name, which is plate. But then you can also add additional options over here. So if I add here, let's say I add here A1 underscore plate, and then I can add also, it can be any name what is there in the CAD structure. So I'm just giving you, for example, here, this name box. So what it means is that this plate template is not restricted to the part having the feature name as plate, but then it can be also used to some other features which have different names like this. So then you can also easily reuse this same template over there. Okay. And the last thing was about the separators that comes from templates and settings. So this is basically the naming convention for the feature template. And you can then define or add these separators over here. And you can define how you want to generate the feature name. So what are the separators and how will be the feature name splitted?
So let's go forward. So we have still several new features and functionalities to show you, but these are, let's say, relatively small things. So we are not showing you how these are used in live. Instead, I will just go fast through all these next maybe 15-20 slides. So first of all, we have a new statement called switch. So you have a new way of having this kind of a conditional things happening in your program. So you have a parameter which you can take a look what's inside of that parameter, and depending of the value, you can have different scenarios, what happens where the robot goes or anything similar. And then there is a new thing inside of the if-else statements, which was already in the previous release. Now you have also an option to have else if in the statement. So then there is a new user interface. It's more intuitive and more similar to so for assembly status you have a new user interface, and it's now looking similar to what you have in modeling tab when you look inside of how the part features are defined. And then lots of new functionalities inside of point control. First of all, there are these teach controls inside of the point control, helping you to more easily to add points and handle everything basically. Then we have VPS visible also inside of point control. You can control it from there if it's visible or not from that arrow. So you can see what is inside of each VPS parameter VPS name basically. So you can see, and you can edit also it in here. Then you can have also point coordinates visible in different coordinate system part, base and world, and you can toggle it from here from the columns button that what is shown, what is not. And then a few new functionalities from customer requests that you can now say from here that you select few points in sequence, and then you can say that, okay, set circular, so then it changes that to circ1, circ2, circ1, circ2, and so on automatically, so you don't have to do that anymore manually. And then you have also an option to define that, hey, this is my 3-point curve. So if you have, let's say, 50 points or any number of points, you can select all of them and then convert that to 3-point curve. So it then automatically deletes unnecessary points and uses only 3 points to define the curve or circle. And then you have an option to resequence points. So you just select a point and use Shift key from the keyboard, and then you can move up and down and resequence the points in your statement. And then we have new functionalities in a couple of grids. First of all, in VPS grid, so you can add options inside of each list box. So you don't need only one item here, and if you change it, you can have optional items inside of it and choose what is the best fit in your case. Same thing in Search Advanced tab, you have an option to add values to your list boxes. And then we added US units. So if you go to File Options and General tab, then you can define here that use US units, and then you restart the software, and then you will see also in our panels inches, and it also changes the workpiece positioners texts, not on PA, PB anymore, instead 1F, 2F, how it's defined in US area. And then you can also have arithmetic operations in every text box in our panel. So plus, minus, multiply, divide should work in every text box. And then we have, let's say, lots of requests from the customers and partners that we should have this option in our software, that when you calibrate your workpiece positioner, all the links should automatically reposition themselves, and now it is possible. So there is a workpiece positioner calibration version 2, which enables you to do that. We have tested it quite a bit and it should work, but in case it has some problems, you still have this old version next to positioner version 2, this old one here. And then we added a couple of post processors. First of all, UR, Universal Robots, you can download and upload, and then Doosan, you can download, and then for the commercial release, there will be also an uploader. We didn't have time to add it for this partner release version yet. And then there is also this JSON post processor, which is basically just an example of how you can get different information out from the simulation world. So it's not for any specific robot brand, it's just an example that you can edit and use it wherever you want, for example, to make your own report or something like that. And then for XML importer, we have new functionalities. So you can now choose any welding position for the workpiece positioner by defining it in XML file, and also how the robot's positioner is working for imported path. So is it in fixed place or using average calculation, or do you let us to calculate it, and so on. And then new functionality, automatically check if there are updates for our software. So now let's say that if you're running on 4.3.1.1 and we release a new version, you open up the software, it will already tell you that, hey, there is a new available software version. And that is, of course, handy for the customers also, that they can see that, hey, there's a new version that I can use. And you can also click this Delfoi Robotics icon here on the ribbon, and you see the information of the current version, available version, and then your product key, and then all these features, what is in your license at the moment enabled. And then on the help tab, we have added few functionalities. So first of all, there is a straight link to our extranet, to Delfoi Academy. And then we have this support button here. When you click that one, it opens an email, and where is pointed to our support box, and it has all the information of what you have at the moment installed in the software. Basically, the version, available version. It will also have if you have installed the hotfix version, and some product keys and features. So it's just easier for our support team to see the initial data, that what software version you're running and what might be the cause of the problems and so on. And then we have this in there. If you go from the ribbon to files, options, and robotics, you will see these two extra items here, so that you can handle the hover panel, what we demonstrated in the beginning, that if it's visible or not. But then we have this reset application settings also here, which basically resets every user settings to factory defaults. And it also might help if you have some weird error message in your software, and it basically stops running properly. So that should be your first step, that you go to reset application settings and restart the software, and then see if that helps. If not, then contact support. So then the new option, Delfoi Solver Bundle. So it's not included in the standard software products. It is like on top of those as an optional something that customers can buy if they need, and that's called Delfoi Solver Bundle. And what is that actually? So I think we have already discussed about this in our previous webinars, but now it's the time to release it officially first time. So it is a way to solve automatically the problems that your robot can have in the simulation. So it can have reachability problems, joint limit problems, singularities, or collisions. And Solver Bundle is trying to solve those automatically for the operator. And one thing to mention is that now it is working only with one robot at the time. So if you have fully coordinated multi-robot layouts, it doesn't work with those yet, only for a single robot at the time. So what we are actually, or how it is working. So we divide the whole Solver Bundle to 3 segments. One is for process path, for example, for weld path. Then we have via path solver, which is figuring out how to do the air motions between first weld to the second weld, from second to third one, and so on. And then we have a different method to solve search path, touch sensing paths, or laser search paths, and so on. And if we can solve all of those 3 items, then we think that, okay, we can give you a full solution, basically. And where is those Solver Bundle buttons located? They will be here in the bottom in the path check panel. So you will see these new small icons here. The first one is process path solver, then you have search path solver and via path solver, and then there is also this auto search button as not the new function, but we just added it there to make it easier to use. So here you see a short video clip how it works. So we have here on the program editor home point, and then we have 3 weld paths, and then back to home motion. And we don't know yet if these are working. We just basically define that here we have welds, and then when you move to the points, you can see you have collisions. You could simulate, of course, but with path check panel, it is just faster to background calculate it and see if there are any problems in your program. And then it reports, in this case, with yellow color that, hey, you have a couple collisions on your program. Only 63% is problem-free at the moment. And of course, with this path check slider, you can move back and forth and so on. But what happens next? Let's say that we have this layout where we have already set up the solver bundle. So there are some parameters, or actually I think 200 parameters that you might need to tweak to make it work perfectly in your case. But let's say the factory defaults are already basically sensing that how your layout is looking, and based on that it makes few selections for you, and it might work quite okay already without any changes in the setup. But now when the setup is done, you can just select this path solver, weld path solver in this case, that solve everything from my program. And if you want to solve one weld at a time, you can just change it from here, that only selected. But now it's just the full program. In this case, all the 3 welds it tries to solve. So when you click that yes checkbox over there, it starts calculating, and then depending of complexity of the welds and complexity of the parts and so on, it takes more time, less time. But in this case, it's quite simple layout, simple part, so it takes few seconds, and it then reported that everything should be okay. But after that, you need to run the path check again, and then it says that almost good. You still have a couple problems. But why was that? It said that I solved everything, but path checker says that no, it's not good yet. It's because this weld path solver solves only the weld motions, not the air motions. So these few collisions here happens during the approach motions or air motions between the paths. So what happens next is that we go over here and say solve the via paths for me, and then again it starts calculating a little bit, trying to find path from the home point to the first weld, from first weld to the second, and so on, finally back home. And now it says that, okay, I have completed, so let's check what is the results. And then it again calculates that how was the simulation over there. It shows you with all green color and 100% over there. It should be basically a working program for the robot. And also you can see here in the program editor list here that now there is new statements. So there are via paths between the welds, and also via path from home to the first weld. So it adds these new statements for air motions. And then you can have in solver settings, you can have different tolerances for different elements in the simulation world. So the tip of the torch can have 0 tolerance, then the robot arm can have 10 millimeter and so on. So it depends of how you set it up.